Hey everybody, I'm Scott Galden. I'm the owner of Simmons Floor Covering and Total Renovations, and this video is designed to help answer some of the questions you may have about vinyl plank. If you're looking to do a vinyl plank project, you're looking at one of the most popular products in floor covering today. It's our fastest growing product category, and we've got a lot of customers that have installed it and had great success with it. The whole purpose behind this video is to give you some things to look for as you're making that purchase decision. Now, most people, when they first start looking for vinyl plank, are only looking at two items to consider. They're looking for color and they're looking for cost. The downside of that is there's about 4 or 5 other things that you really ought to be considering if you want to make sure that you find the right product that matches up with what you're looking for. I'm going to start with kind of giving you a product overview of some of the different types of vinyl plank that are available in the market. And then we can match up some of the things you may be looking for with some of the products that I show you. So let me start with the first product I want to introduce you to. This is what I kind of refer to as old school vinyl plank. This is a glue down product. This came into the market about 15 years ago, became real popular. This is probably one of the lesser expensive products. The downside is it requires a very, very flat surface to look good, and most people don't have a very flat subfloor in their house, and it requires a lot of prep work. In the early days when we were doing this product, we sometimes found we had problems where there were imperfections in the slab that would start to show through. It just didn't look as good as most customers wanted. So along comes a product, a floating vinyl plank. And this is an example of one of today's floating vinyl planks. This is one that has an SPC core. Put it over here, an SPC core, so you can get an idea what that looks like. The floating vinyl plank doesn't glue down. It just sits on top of the surface, just lays down like this, and it locks together. The advantages of this are it's so much more forgiving. We don't have to have a slab that's perfectly flat in order to make this product look good on your floor. And the second thing is it's very, very quick. We can put it together and you can walk on it immediately, so we can get projects finished at a much higher rate of speed. You also have to know that in the world of floating vinyl planks, there's 2 different kinds of floating vinyl planks. This is a solid core. It doesn't move very much. This is one that's called a flexible core. You can see that it bends a lot more. This is made from limestone filler. It's a little bit heavier product. It doesn't have the base that this has. The advantage of this, you can literally put this over a brick floor. The downside of this is because it has air in its core, it can't handle really, really high PSI. So if you've got a grand piano, this is not a good product for you. Where this product, the SPC product, is a much better product if you need to put something very heavy on top of it. Another thing to look for in your vinyl plank flooring that's really important, but it's not necessarily visible sometimes when you're looking at one of those small samples in a big box store, is the amount of texture that's on that floor. That's what's going to make it look realistic. So again, this is one of those old school vinyl planks. You can see it's got just a little bit of texture to it, but it doesn't really match up with anything. It's just little slashes in the very top coat to give it a little bit of texture. What you're going to see with this product is a much more realistic texture, and once you get this out on your floor, it's going to look a lot more realistic than this product will. The best texture you're going to find, it's what's called embossed in register. As you can see, this plank, it's got this knot in it here. If you feel around this, it actually has the texture that matches up with the wood that's beneath it. And these are like saw marks, and the texture matches up completely, just like it would if it was a wood floor. So when you look at this on the floor, it looks far more realistic than what this looks like on the floor. However, this is a more expensive product than this product. Another important thing to look at with your vinyl plank is what type of backing is on it. This is one of the higher end products. It has a cork backing. Now the backing's not to make it softer on the foot. The backing is to make it quieter. Because it's a floating floor and because it can vibrate, it can cause sound. So having a cork backing helps it to be quiet when you're walking on it. Another type of backing is this backing on this product. It has a rubber backing on it. A lot of the big box stores have a product that doesn't have any backing on it at all. And if you install it without backing, it's going to be a very, very noisy product. There'll be a small note at the bottom of the sample that says that you need to add a laminate pad underneath it. And if you forget to do that, you're going to be in trouble. I like the products that have the backing already attached. I think they perform better over time. Another thing to look for when you're looking at the product is beveled edges. And you might ask, well, what's the difference between beveled edges and squared edges? Beveled edges are when the manufacturer puts a little edge around each one of the planks. Again, you're not going to notice this in a small sample, but when you get it out on the floor, if you've got a beveled edge or a treated edge, it's going to look more like a realistic plank, like a standalone plank. Where if you have square edges, it starts to look like one gigantic piece of sheet vinyl, like grandma's sheet vinyl. This product here is going to tend toward that look because it's got square edges and they're just pushed up against each other. We're seeing wider and bigger, longer planks versus the thinner, smaller planks. This is version 1.0. It was about a 3-foot long plank, 5 inches wide. This is the type of plank that we're seeing on the market today. It's a 7-inch wide plank. It's a 6-foot long plank. We're seeing more and more large format planks, whether it's wood or vinyl plank, because we have larger and larger rooms to fill. Large rooms look better with larger planks. You don't see all the lines that go across the floor. So that's a trend, and you want to ask yourself, what size plank's going to look best in the rooms that I have in mind? Another item that you have to be aware of, and this is going to show a big difference between what you might find in a big box store versus what you might find in a specialty store, is the number of screens that come in a box. So with a vinyl plank product, it's basically a photograph that has a finish put on the top of it. In your low-end product, something like this may only have 8 different screens that are part of the box. So it's real easy to spot duplication in your floor. Where a better made product is going to have multiple screens, this one may have as many as 32 screens in the box. So each plank's going to look different on the floor. Again, it's hard to see this in a small sample, but once it gets on your floor, you want to make sure that the boards don't all look the same. Believe me, I've seen it in houses and it drives me nuts. Another thing that you want to look at is how much color variation is in the plank. Again, in the original planks, they were typically all the same color. Every plank looked the same. In more of the modern looking planks, each plank's going to look a little bit different on the floor, and you might have a lot more light and dark variation. That's because that's the way wood floor looks on the floor. You'll see lighter and darker pieces of wood. So when you go to check out your samples, you may want to lay several pieces on the floor to see how much color variation is there in the floor. Because the more color variation, the more realistic it's going to look. Finally, the thing you want to look for is how much character are you looking for in your floor. Some people want to have every board look very much like a piece of furniture. Others want the floor to look like it's in a barn. You need to ask yourself, how much character do you want in that floor? Floors today are tending toward more character. People are wanting something that really does look like real wood, and real wood has character. The final item that you want to consider on your vinyl plank flooring is what kind of finish is on the floor, because the finish is actually what you're going to be walking on. The better floors today typically use either, they use polyurethane finish with either aluminum oxide or ceramic beads that are ground up, put in the polyurethane, and then finished on top of the floor. Those microscopic beads are actually what you're walking on when you're walking on the floor. And you want to make sure that the product has a good finish. That's really going to determine how well that product's going to look like in the long run. It's not the thickness, it's not what it's made of, it's about that finish. And the finishes that you want to look at are typically at least 12 millimeter or 12 mil finishes. Most commercial finishes are 20 mil finishes. So be careful that you look for a product that has a real good finish on it. Otherwise, a couple of years from now, you're going to be regretting the decision. Hopefully you were able to get some good information from this video. Feel free to call us with any questions you have. Our store number is 940-566-6169. We'll be happy to answer any question that you have. But always remember, don't buy floors from big box stores.